do you want to also talk about the candle auctions? Because I think people would be curious to know about those.
Sure. Well, now, basically, the way that these auctions work is that we didn't want to. So blockchains necessarily are these like super open and transparent things. Everyone can see what's going on all the time. And what we didn't want was to have, you know, this game, this sort of auction game where, you know, I don't know if you ever used eBay. I mean, I don't know. Is it used these days, or is everyone just using Amazon? I mean, I haven't used it in years, but like back in the, you know, the early days of Web 2, I was an avid eBayer, like, you know, sort of 2005-ish, like 2007, that sort of thing. And what inevitably happened was the last 60 seconds, the price would be, you know, $5. Slowly climbing up from $3, like $3.40, $3.45, and it gets to like $5, and then the last 60 seconds it'd be like 10, 15, 50, 500. It's like, okay, right. So it was a 10-day auction, but actually all of the important bids happened in the last minute. Now that's a pretty standard kind of game theoretic thing to do. You basically hold your best bid for the very last point in the auction. And it's kind of rubbish to do that for a blockchain, because it means that it's not great price discovery. People, if you hold it for the last minute, then it's like you might not get it in. Miners, validators can kind of keep them back, you know, and if a few bad validators happen to have the last few blocks, then, you know, maybe a good price will get chucked for a bad one. It's sort of fraught with problems. What we wanted to do was find a solution for this. It turns out there was already a solution. Hurrah! History has provided us one. So there are these auctions called candle auctions. They're named so because basically the auctioneer had a candle next to them, and the candle was lit at the beginning of the auction. People could put bids in. It was an open auction, so anyone can bid anything at any time as long as it's higher than the previous highest bid. But when the candle goes out, then regardless of whether anyone's got any more bids to add, that last bid is the bid that wins. Yeah. So it's a really good way of making sure that auctions don't go on forever, and that there isn't like a group of people, like a cabal of people with much higher bids that are just waiting and waiting and waiting until everyone else has done their thing. Now, the problem with candle auctions is that you can't put a candle on a blockchain. You can't even put like an abstract representation of a candle on a blockchain because you can't end something randomly very easily. Basically, to end something randomly, someone has to know when it's going to end, because someone has to model the candle. Someone has to like be the generator for the candle. Is the flame gone out yet? And if someone's the generator, it means they've got an advantage. So what instead we do is we do this clever thing where we have a retroactive ending. So the auction ends at the end of some hour, right? Time is broken up into hours, and at the end of some hour, we say the auction's ended. But it doesn't literally end at that hour. Instead, it ends at some point in the previous hour. So we know it's ended sometime in the last hour, but we don't know when yet. And then we choose a point randomly in that last hour, and that point is when the auction ended, which means there have been possibly other higher bids that have come in since that point, because, you know, we're at the end of the hour, right? But we discard them. And what this means is that even things like smart contracts that you can very easily predict the behavior of can still have a good chance of getting a slot, because even though I might instantly see the smart contract bid and then bid one higher in the next block, it might be that, well, then the smart contract maybe bids up in the block after that and I bid. So I might be in a bidding war with the smart contract, but that still means that every other block, the smart contract will be the winning one at that point. And then it's like a 50-50 chance whether it's the smart contract or me, because it's a block chosen at random in the last hour. So it might be one where the smart contract was winning, but it might be one where I'm winning. Now, normally you wouldn't be able to do that, because I would just always be checking the smart contract, bidding one up, and by the time it ended, I would be bidding one beyond the smart contract. But because we end at a random time, we can avoid that problem.